Australia today is a land of prosperity, where sprawling cities pulse with life. Education is world-class, healthcare is exceptional, and wages allow for a lifestyle envied around the globe. From the shimmering harbors of Sydney to the cultural heartbeat of Melbourne, from the sun-drenched streets of Brisbane to the cosmopolitan charm of Perth and Adelaide, all 5 major metropolitan hubs consistently rank among the world's top 10 cities for livability. Here, stability, infrastructure, environment, and culture converge to create a quality of life few nations can rival. Australians enjoy life expectancies of 81.3 years for men and 85.4 for women, a far cry from the harsh realities of the 19th century. But how did this vast, remote land evolve from a distant penal colony into a nation of opportunity and promise? This is the story of Australia. Long before Europeans set foot on this continent, humans had called it home for over 65,000 years. Migrating from Southeast Asia at the close of the last ice age, the first Australians spread across the continent, from the Torres Strait Islands in the north to the windswept coasts of Tasmania in the south. These early inhabitants became the ancestors of the Aboriginal peoples, forming over 500 distinct tribal groups, each with their own languages, traditions, and lands. For millennia, life thrived in harmony with the land until the age of European exploration arrived. In the early 1600s, as Europe entered its age of discovery, Dutch navigators became the first recorded Europeans to glimpse Australia's shores. William Janszoon charted parts of the northern coast in 1606, followed by explorers like Dirk Hartog and Abel Tasman, who mapped the west and south, naming the island of Van Diemen's Land, later Tasmania, after himself. The Dutch called the continent New Holland, yet it remained largely untouched. Colonization was never pursued, as profit lay elsewhere, on the Spice Islands of Indonesia. It wasn't until the 18th century that Australia returned to European attention. Between 1768 and 1779, Captain James Cook undertook 3 expeditions across the Pacific. In April 1770, he charted the eastern coast, landing at Botany Bay. With botanist Joseph Banks documenting the rich flora, Cook claimed the territory for Britain, naming it New South Wales. Though he never returned, his reports inspired Britain to consider the continent for settlement, especially after losing the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. In 1787, 11 ships carrying 1,400 people set sail from Britain, forming the first fleet. Arriving in January 1788, the settlers initially attempted Botany Bay, but found Sydney Cove far more suitable. Arthur Phillip, the fleet's commander, became governor, establishing Sydney as the first permanent European settlement. Convicts and their overseers formed the backbone of the colony, gradually joined by emancipated convicts and free settlers from Britain. Life in the early colony was arduous. Harsh conditions, isolation, and social tensions occasionally erupted into conflict. In 1804, convicts staged the first rebellion in Castle Hill, suppressed swiftly but hinting at growing unrest. By 1808, the Rum Rebellion saw soldiers overthrow Governor William Bligh, reflecting the volatile mix of authority, trade, and survival in the fledgling colony. As settlements expanded, tension with the Aboriginal peoples escalated. Initially, attempts at cooperation were made. Schools, farms, and missions aimed to integrate Indigenous Australians. But European diseases, land dispossession, and cultural misunderstandings led to devastating consequences. Smallpox alone killed half of Sydney's Aboriginal population in 1789, while frontier wars erupted across the continent. Despite some efforts at protection and land reservations, the colonial push inland fueled decades of conflict. Australia's fortunes shifted with the discovery of gold. Edward Hargreaves struck gold in New South Wales in 1851, triggering a massive rush that saw the population soar from 430,000 to over 1.1 million within a decade. Miners arrived from across the globe, bringing both wealth and unrest. The Eureka Stockade of 1854 symbolized the fight for fairness and representation, embedding egalitarian principles into the Australian identity. By 1901, the 6 colonies united to form the Commonwealth of Australia. Sir Edmund Barton became the nation's first Prime Minister. Early policies, such as the White Australia policy, sought to preserve a European-dominated population, reflecting the prejudices of the era. Despite these measures, Australia's national identity grew stronger, balancing ties to Britain with aspirations for self-determination. Australia's involvement in World War I and II profoundly shaped the nation. The ANZAC soldiers became legends at Gallipoli, earning admiration for bravery and sacrifice. World War II brought the conflict to Australian shores, with Japanese attacks on Darwin and Sydney highlighting the country's vulnerability. Post-war, Australia shifted its geopolitical outlook, fostering ties with the United States and embarking on a massive immigration wave, helping rebuild the economy and shape a multicultural society. The latter half of the 20th century saw Australia emerge as a modern, vibrant nation. Cultural icons like the Sydney Opera House, the 2000 Olympic Games, and thriving urban development symbolized progress. The nation began confronting its colonial past, addressing Indigenous rights, and fostering reconciliation. Australia's remarkable adaptation from harsh penal settlements to one of the world's wealthiest, most livable nations reflects a legacy of resilience, ambition, and opportunity. Australia stands today as a testament to perseverance and transformation. From ancient lands inhabited for tens of thousands of years, through penal hardships, frontier conflict, and global wars, to a modern, diverse, and thriving nation, Australia's journey is a story of endurance, ambition, and hope. Its history reminds us that even the most challenging beginnings can lead to extraordinary destinies.